Remote work promised freedom, no commute, flexible hours. So, why are so many people feeling burned out and disconnected? On this episode of Brandon Bank, we love remote work, but
Yeah.
we are going to talk about the downsides of remote work. Sean and
Yeah.
I both work remotely. We are remote work advocates, but there are downsides and there are some changes it has made to society. So, we're going to touch on them today and give some practical tips on how to work through these challenges. All right. So, the first thing I want to talk about is a really big one.
Mhm.
It's blurred work life boundaries, which to me,
Mhm.
when I started working remote, was um, the biggest thing that like changed for me in my life was instead of, going to work at 9, leaving at 5, and then having my regular life after that, I ended up just kind of working around the clock. And yes, I would take like little breaks to maybe do the laundry, weave in life into my workday, but ultimately kind of never stop working. Has that ever
Yeah.
happened? Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. Like I cannot tell you the last time I officially took lunch break. There's no 1 hour lunch break
Yeah.
at all when you do remote work because people think that when you're at home, it's just like you have all this free time. You can just hang out, you can watch TV, you can do all that stuff. Absolutely not. you
Yeah.
know, because you're so glued, because you don't have to commute and you don't have to get distracted by other employees, bosses. You just find yourself just working nonstop because there's no distraction. There's nobody to stop you. So then because there's nobody to stop you, you just keep going. So
Right.
yes, I'm a I'm a victim of remote work.
Yeah. And I would say, like, also, yeah, there's no one to like pop up and ask you a question
Mhm.
in your face. But when you work remote, everybody plops on a meeting onto your calendar for all the little questions. So
Yes.
you have so many more meetings than you would normally have. I
Yeah.
feel like because when I worked in an office, I don't remember having that many meetings like back to back.
That's true. And I feel like sometimes bosses are probably guilty of, and I'm saying bosses like I'm not one, but bosses are guilty of doing that, just dumping stuff on your calendar, thinking that, okay, you don't have nothing to do but to sit and have a meeting with them.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, I agree with that. I can see people having meetings because they think you're at home, you aren't doing anything. So let's just have a meeting to have a meeting about a meeting.
Right.
Come on.
Exactly. Just so that they feel better that everyone's working, maybe
Yeah,
sometimes.
you're into it. Counterproductive. That's the word.
Exactly.
Doesn't
Right.
work.
Right, because you need time to get your work done, for sure.
Yeah.
And then all of that can really lead to increased burnout, which is a really big problem with
Yeah.
remote working. I feel like we've had like a cultural shift in the
Mhm.
workforce where burnout has become a bigger problem. How much of that do you think is tied to remote working becoming a bigger part of our lives?
I would say a majority of that burnout because, like we just said, you don't have downtime. People think that even if you do stop in the middle of the day to maybe go for a run and you come back in 30 minutes or an hour, that 1 hour is not much when you compare it to you waking up at 2 a.m. and working, or you not clocking out at 5, but then working till like 8, 9 o'clock at night. And this is every night. So if you add up all the time that you spend working before the traditional 9 o'clock, right? And
Right.
then after 5, you're doing more than your 40 hours a week. And
Absolutely.
so the burnout, I can see not just with the amount of time that you work, but then we tend to constantly feel like the need to check our emails or to, a lot of people use Slack and all those type of instant messaging thing. Something goes off and you're like quickly grabbing your phone to see what it is to respond, as opposed to when you're in an office at 5 o'clock, you're done. Like nobody
Right.
can email you, text you, message you, nothing because it's not getting answered until you come back to work the next day,
Right.
especially if it's a weekend. That doesn't get done until Monday morning.
Mhm.
But remote work, you there's no boundaries.
Right.
It's like people feel like you are accessible at all times to everyone.
Right. Absolutely. What do you think could be a solution to this burnout problem with remote working?
Boundaries. We talk about that a lot here.
We
Setting
do.
boundaries.
We like boundaries.
Yes, we like boundaries. Setting boundaries, just tell yourself that one, you're going to work your allotted time, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, whatever that may be, right?
Yeah,
Also, take a lunch break. I know it's hard because I'm guilty of that. I don't get up from my chair unless I'm running out to a meeting or, whatever. But like I said, I've said before, I stop working by 4 o'clock every day. That's because I set that boundary.
yeah,
Um, but then again, I'm always up at 2 a.m. So is there really a boundary because I'm up at 2 working and I don't stop until 4? But at least I know I cut off at 4, no exceptions. So set that boundary, work within your work hours, take a lunch break, and try to refrain from feeling the urge to constantly respond to every email, every Slack message as soon as it hits. Like give it time. Tomorrow is always there. Nobody's gonna
yeah.
die, hopefully. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Turn off your notifications on specific apps if you need to.
Yes, because those notifications, they'll drive you crazy. Because as soon as you hear ping, you're like, it's a natural reaction to just like,
Yeah,
oh, ping, and then like
you need to
natural
know.
mental stress
Yeah, yeah.
in the
With
age
the
of social media.
curiosity.
Yes.
Yeah, so, okay, the next big problem, we're switching gears a little bit here,
Yeah.
is isolation and loneliness. So,
Mm,
so my closest friendships, several of them are
yeah.
from when I worked in the office and I met, you know, my coworkers and we formed long-lasting friendships. But with remote working, I have formed friendships, but they're not as deep as the ones
Mhm.
that I formed in person. So I do think that there is a factor of isolation and loneliness that comes with working remote.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that?
Yeah. I mean, I get lonely sometimes, because which is why sometimes though nobody's there, run into the office. We
Mhm,
might gather for an hour or so, but it does get lonely when you have nobody to talk to except when
mhm,
you're in a meeting, and those only last for so long, right? Um, as much as the distraction from other teammates and bosses can be annoying and
mhm,
downright distracting, it was nice having that distraction.
right.
Does it make
Yeah,
but I think having that distraction when I was an employee in an office was, if it was done in boundaries, then it would have been fine. But
yeah,
half of the time, they weren't being done within a boundary. So that's what made it so much of a distraction.
yeah,
But for now, being remote, I wish sometimes I had that person that like, hey, did you watch Grey's Anatomy last night? Or just
yeah,
something,
yeah,
just kind of like ease the tension of just constantly be deep down in your work and just not having just a moment to just kind of relax.
yeah.
So yeah, I miss
Yeah.
that. I miss that.
Yeah, I do, and I feel like something that I do, like, right before we started filming this podcast episode, I was on the phone with my best friend, just, like, talking through our days, and I
Yeah.
feel like that really helps. Just having your support system before you start working remote, make
Mhm.
sure you have an outside of work support system that will fill you up so that you
Mhm.
don't feel so isolated and lonely. Like, I am really glad that I did work in the office for the
Mhm.
beginning of my career to
Oh
develop
yeah,
a.
and I feel like anybody who's not experienced that, I feel like they miss out. They miss out because after COVID and all of that happened, and people and remote work became a real big thing. Even though it was a thing before, but COVID made it a thing.
Yeah,
People who've never experienced working in an office, I think they miss out on that part of it.
yeah,
Because I remember years ago when I used to work in an office, we every Friday we would have happy Fridays. Like, so after work, all of us in the accounting department would just go out and have drinks and just like, kill another 2 hours or so at a restaurant or bar in Chicago somewhere and just kind of like have that moment is just on a Friday. So,
yeah,
and I miss that because that was years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe people still do that, but those are the things that I say I miss being in an office and just kind of having that social interaction.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just reminded me, we used to go to Dave& and Buster's across the street for happy
Yeah.
hour all the
Yeah.
time. Those Yeah, that was nice. Now I don't know, I have to call a friend and we go to happy hour even though we don't work together, we're not coming from an office. It's not the
Yeah.
same.
It's not the same. It's like it used to be so fun when we're like, okay, guys, it's Friday, 5 o'clock, and everybody's packing up the bag, and we're all heading out to the same place at the same time. And we're
Yeah.
all just walking down Michigan Avenue in Chicago, going somewhere or State Street. It was
Yeah,
always just that thing, you know? And it's
mm,
hard to explain because it's just like you look behind us and see like 10 of us from the office just walking together. I miss
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I do too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those were the
Um,
days.
yeah, almost I guess the solution to that would be a hybrid work environment maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then
Yeah.
hybrid again poses more, some challenges, but that's for another day.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on another episode. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm definitely still a remote work advocate. I would make
Yes.
sure that home environment challenges are handled. If you're
Yeah.
going to remote work effectively, make sure you have your quiet workspace, your babysitter, your dog sitter.
Mm.
Although I do just have my dog locked up in a room so that you can't hear him barking. Just remove distractions.
Yeah.
That can be another challenge with remote working. And it can feel a little unprofessional sometimes, right? If
Yeah.
people have all those distractions.
Yeah.
What do you
Which is
think?
why
Have you
I'm
had
no, because I have a separate office at home, so
Yeah,
I'm not in an open space where everybody walks by. I mean, my office is an office. So
yeah,
if you're coming to me, you're coming to me. There's
mhm,
no I'm walking past you to go somewhere else. You have to literally be coming in my office to come to
yeah,
me. And I can lock the door. And so even if you come, I can't see you, you can't see me, so I feel like yes, have a quiet space. And for those people who can't have that office or quiet space, maybe set it up in where there's some type of divider. Like back in the day when you used to work in office and they had those
yep,
partitions, cubicles, as we used to
yeah,
call them. Yeah,
create your
maybe
own
have yeah, maybe have some.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Get some backdrops behind you. Nice. So, yeah. So to wrap everything up, we don't think remote work is bad, but it's not perfect, right? Nothing is perfect. So, hopefully, you got some practical tips on how to work with the downside of remote work and you still want to do it. I do hope that remote work still is like a popular thing for years to come. It does help a lot of people. Also, like, you don't want to spend all day, every day with people you don't necessarily like. So, remember to set boundaries, build intentional routines, stay socially connected. And until next time, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.